ES Audio.
From the Evening Standard in London, I'm Mark Blunden, and this is The Leader. It's day one of Prince Harry giving evidence in his claim against the publisher of the Daily Mirror, and he's the first British royal to give evidence in more than 130 years. This episode of The Leader podcast is brought to you in part from outside the Rolls building of the Royal Courts of Justice in the City of London. Here we have the arrival of a Range Rover with its hazard lights flashing, crawling in to this, or rather august cul-de-sac with the world's media assembled, hoping to catch that shot. Prince Harry wearing a navy blue suit, flanked by his security detail, gets out of the Range Rover and into court with a brief good morning to the assembled press. He now is going through the metal detector and breezes through. There's certainly no pat down for the Duke of Sussex today. He's suing Mirror Group newspapers for damages, claiming journalists at its titles, which also include the Sunday Mirror and Sunday People, were linked to methods including phone hacking, so-called blagging, or gaining information by deception, and the use of private investigators for unlawful activities. It's one of 6 cases he has on the go currently, but Prince Harry came under fire on Monday after it was revealed he didn't turn up for the first day of his phone hacking case against MGN because he was celebrating Princess Lilibet's birthday at home in California. With the latest ahead of Harry's much-awaited appearance, likely to be solo without his wife, the Duchess of Sussex, we're joined by Evening Standard Courts correspondent Tristan Kirk. Tristan, why is Harry in London?
Well, Harry's in London today to give evidence in one of a series of legal claims that he's brought against the British media. He's giving evidence about alleged phone hacking at the Mirror Group newspaper across 15 or so years between 1996 and 2011. He says he was the victim of unlawful news gathering, phone hacking, blagging, and intrusions into his private life. This is a landmark moment in British legal history. Members of the royal family traditionally don't give evidence in court cases. They very rarely take part in legal cases at all.
This isn't the only case that he's got sort of in the system right now. Could you give us an overview of what else he's got going on legally right now?
Prince Harry alleges that he's been the victim of phone hacking and unlawful news gathering at the hands of several different newspaper groups. He's brought legal claims against the Mirror Group, against News UK, which is the publisher of The Sun, and also against Associated Newspapers, which is the publisher of the Daily Mail.
Why wasn't he in court yesterday for this for the start of this very big case?
Yesterday at the High Court was the opening speeches in Harry's individual case. It was always expected to be opening speeches from lawyers, but the judge had told Harry to be there just in case he was needed to give evidence. And as that came to pass, close to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, he could have been giving evidence. However, he had decided not to attend court yesterday, perhaps on the advice of his lawyers. He'd been at his daughter Lilibet's birthday party on the Sunday and flown over from LA to the UK, and he didn't attend court on Monday, perhaps expecting that Tuesday would really be the day when he'd give evidence.
For the MGN case today, what is MGN's defence?
MGM says that there isn't the evidence there to support the case that Harry and others are bringing, that there's no direct evidence of him being phone hacked, and that apart from one specific incident involving a nightclub in 2004, there's no evidence to support his claims that he was subjected to other forms of unlawful news gathering.
We've often heard the British courts the preserve of the mega rich. Any indication on how much all this could possibly be costing the Duke and how he's paying for it?
Well, the mega rich is right. You don't bring cases like this unless you've got substantial funds behind you, and you can afford the risk of losing and having to pay out not just your own legal costs, but also the costs of the other side. Now, in a case that Harry brought against the Home Office recently and lost, was defeated in the High Court, it was estimated he'll have to fork out something like £500,000 in legal costs because of that defeat. Now, that was a limited case that hadn't gone to trial and hadn't expended potentially hundreds of hours of lawyers and others working on the case. So With this claim against Mirror Group newspapers and his other claims, he must have a war chest into the several millions of pounds, if not the tens of millions of pounds, in case he loses and in case he has to shoulder the costs.
With the case against the Home Office and the request for the Met Police protection, which has already gone through one round in court, what is the latest with that?
Harry brought two claims against the Home Office related to his protection, his security detail that was taken away from him when he stepped down as a working royal. One of those cases was about the decision-making process and that the way that his offer to fund his protection was turned down. He lost that case. That's not going to judicial review at the moment. However, a second case that he's brought about the decision itself is going through to a full judicial review. So, early next year, we should see a fairly titanic clash between Prince Harry and the Home Office over whether his security and his protection should come out of the Met Police's resources, and whether that in the future, perhaps for the rest of his life, he should have the same protection as other members of the royal family.
We are back in the studio. Now let's go to the ads. Coming up, we'll hear from Tristan how Prince Harry got on in the witness box and what his bombshell statement contained. Why not hit rate and follow in the meantime? Welcome back. Now we've got details of Prince Harry's bombshell 25,000 plus words witness statement from Tristan, who joins us on the line as the court takes a break. Tristan, what were some of the witness written statement highlights?
It's a sizable witness statement put forward by Prince Harry. He's taken aim squarely at the media at large, accused at least the tabloid press of having blood on their hands in the way that they have reported stories and gone after their targets over the years. He suggested that not only the media, but also the government of today is at rock bottom, and it is his duty as a member of the royal family, as a former soldier and somebody in the public eye with the finances to do it, to take up this campaign and to go after elements of the media who he believes have been acting unlawfully and in an unprincipled manner in order to change the way that journalism works in the future. Some other parts of his statement touch on his relationship with Chelsea Davy and the way that that was effectively wrecked by the media attention on the relationship, and also his relationship with his mother, Princess Diana, and some of the things that are said to have happened to her in the months before she died, when it said there was messages being intercepted and her phone calls being listened to.
And his key witness box points from your ringside seat?
Well, perhaps the first thing to notice is something that you'd only know if you're in court and following proceedings live, is that although Prince Harry has a very, very prominent voice on these issues and has metaphorically been shouting about them for some time, he's actually really softly spoken and at times can be quite difficult to hear. But he's putting across his points under cross-examination from Mirror Group's barrister Andrew Green. He says that he has deeply held suspicions about how stories came about, stories about injuries he suffered at school, about his relationships, about his personal life, and drug taking has just featured in the evidence. He suspects it was unlawful news gathering, phone hacking, and he's relying very heavily on the Mirror Group having already admitted widespread practices within its newspapers in the past. The questions are centred on how exactly Harry knows that he particularly was phone hacked and certain stories came from illegal means.
How do you rate the Duke of Sussex's calibre for answering questions under cross-examination?
I think, considering Prince Harry doesn't do this normally, this is his first time in the witness box, he's holding up well under cross-examination. He's clear, he's clear-eyed in what he's saying and the meaning he's trying to bring across. He's obviously an intelligent man, and you studied the documents, the stories, and the evidence in this case incredibly closely and has a very good grasp on his brief, going through the documents and picking out certain aspects that support his case. The difficulty for Harry is that he's relying on an inferential case that's built on suspicion rather than a smoking gun, if you will. And so he sometimes has to concede quite fairly that he doesn't have specific evidence of phone hacking or unlawful news gathering on a particular story. That's where Mirror Group will be focusing their aim on.
What's next, and how long will the judgment take?
The rest of Harry's evidence is going to last until around about Wednesday lunchtime. He's going through each individual story that's complained about. There's 33 of them to go through, so that takes a bit of time. And he's being questioned about his evidence and what he's deduced from those particular stories. And he can face some more tough questions on his personal life, the time he was pictured wearing the Nazi uniform, relationship with his father, fallings out with Prince William. That's all still to come. After that, one journalist who was involved in one particular story is due to come to court to give evidence and be questioned by Harry's barrister. And then we'll quickly move the focus on to the people who are bringing the case alongside Prince Harry. Next up is the soap actress Nikki Sanderson, who'll start giving her evidence, followed by Michael Lavelle, plays Kevin Webster in Coronation Street. And then finally, there's the ex-wife of the comedian Paul Whitehouse, who is the fourth claimant in this case. Beyond that, the closing speeches of the barristers, and then the judge, Mr. Justice Fancourt, will take it all away, assess the evidence, and I think we can expect a judgment in this particular case at some point before the end of the year.
There's more on Tristan's story in the Evening Standard newspaper and online at Standard. That's The Leader. We're back on Wednesday at 4 p.m.